Welcome to The Voice for Multilingual Learners, the podcast where we amplify the stories, strategies, and successes shaping the future of multilingual learner education. I'm Dr. Jovi Lawrence, your host, and I'm thrilled to bring you insights from leaders, educators, and advocates who are driving change and empowering multilingual learners to thrive. Whether you're an administrator, a teacher, or a passionate supporter of equity in education, this podcast is your go-to source for inspiration and actionable ideas. Let's dive in and raise our voices for MLs together. I'm thrilled to welcome Dr. Merica Clinkenbeard, the president-elect for NYELPA, who will be presenting a breakout session at the 2025 conference in Atlanta. Her session focuses on leading change for multilingual learners, activating teacher leaders and administrators to create system-wide impact. Dr. Clinkenbeard, for those who may not be familiar with your work, could you share a little bit about your background and what inspired your passion for multilingual learner education, and also just connect us with your leadership at NYELPA?
Yes, of course. So my background it's pretty wide variety. I feel like I've been preparing for this job my whole life. I grew up in a very small town, and in my high school, I got to take Spanish class. And to me, that was going to open up every door in the world. I was just fascinated by learning another language. And I thought, if I learn another language, that would just open up my world, because I lived in a very small town and we didn't have access, back then there wasn't internet, and we just didn't have a way of finding out other things. And that led me to a passion when I went to school into international business and relations. And so that was my first path. But then I followed in my mother's footsteps and got into teaching. And was a Spanish teacher for a very long time, and then switched gears into getting my certification in TESOL. And so I did that, and then I did work at the university level as a consultant and working with many school districts, and I loved that. And I think I found my passion mostly in helping others and working with teachers on strategies on how to help the learners, because I felt like that was much more impactful because I could help more students that way. And then when I started my doctoral journey, that's when I was able to work and gain this position as director of a program for Springfield Public Schools, and just be able to do that in a much larger capacity and develop systems and strategies to help an entire district with our multilingual learners.
That's awesome. And one thing that you and I have in common, and one way that we connect, is you are heading into your president year next year for NYELPA. And I served a term as president for NYELPA back in the day. And I want to just say that once you are part of the NYELPA family, you're always part of the family. So as a past president, obviously you can see how intimately connected I still am with the organization, and how much that support means to me, and being able to stay connected with this advocacy work. So I'm so proud of you for taking that step and stepping up for that leadership role, and super excited to see you step into that next year as the president-elect this year.
Thank you. I don't give them much of a choice. When I first came around, I was kind of that little irritating person. They were like, what is she doing here? What is she doing here? And I just kind of wormed my way in. They didn't have much of a choice but to accept me. But I just was gravitated towards NYELPA and the people in it from the very beginning. And as I've always said, it's been the best thing I have ever done for my own professional learning and professional growth. And I will always say that and stay with NYELPA because of that.
Yep. For sure. It is an amazing opportunity to network and just have a collective voice. So thanks so much for your leadership. So, and that ties really nicely into your session, as far as just thinking about the role of leadership and how that does create and has a possibility to really create a system-wide impact. So your session highlights the importance of teacher leaders and administrators in transforming learning for multilingual learners. What are some specific ways that leaders can influence systemic change to improve outcomes for multilingual learners?
Well, it's just it's by collective responsibility. Even though I lead a department, it's just not this department's job to make sure that multilingual learners have access to full academic and everything that's going to make them successful, right? And so it's just making sure that everyone in the educational community is aware of that idea of collective responsibility. They're students, right? And we're
Yeah.
here for students. And I think sometimes in our field, we segregate ourselves by always putting labels on things. And so I really try to, I have two words that I use all the time, and they are utilize and optimize. I try to utilize anything that is already happening in the district and optimize that for greatest success for our multilingual learners. Some people will say, well, we don't have a program, or we don't have this, or we don't have that. Yes, you do. You have a school and you have students, you have a program. So it's just taking those things that you already have in place, utilize those, and optimize that for maximum success for the multilingual learners that you have. And you do that by helping your administrators and the leaders that you have in leadership positions in your district realize those resources that they already have in place are the resources that can be used. It doesn't have to be anything different. Those are the resources you can leverage. And then it's looking at teachers or teachers that you already have on your team that you can help raise up and level up to put in specific strategic positions in order to maximize what you do as a team. We will never have enough people on our team. And so I hear that a lot. We need more teachers. We need more teachers. And what I have found is it's really more about where you put people and not how many people that you have.
So one thing you said that just kind of struck me is just the idea that, we're always trying to create that sort of collective ownership and make sure everyone sees every student as our students and our kids, instead of like, whose student is this based on the label, right? So I love that you're, encouraging our audience to reflect on that. And also just the idea that helping our school leaders and educators see that the work that they're doing on behalf of our multilingual learners should not be seen as one more thing. If we can find a way to connect it to the systems that are in place and the work that's already underway and initiatives that are already underway, it does help if we can try to shift the mentality of one more thing, right? So I love that
Exactly.
you're keying in on that as well.
Yeah, people are tired. Educators
Yeah.
are tired,
Yeah.
teachers are tired.
Yep.
Nobody wants to hear about one more thing.
Right.
What works is just hearing like you are doing the right things,
Yeah.
and you're doing the right things. Let's just show you the right way to do those things you're already doing, or the right place to put those things that you're doing.
Yeah.
And that is much more palatable and much more powerful. And it helps way more students.
Agreed, totally. And I don't want to give away too much of your session, but kind of giving us a sneak peek into the part of your session where you discuss the program framework that embeds that language-rich practices into Tier 1 instruction. Again, without giving away too much, can you share a success story or an example of how this framework has elevated instruction and outcomes in your specific district? And maybe you can share a different example that maybe you weren't going to share at the session coming up at the conference.
It's no huge secret. It's just focusing on, our district has a real focus on Tier 1 instruction. So there you go.
Yeah.
There's nothing better than good Tier 1 instruction. So our goal is to embed language-rich strategies into Tier 1 instruction.
Yep.
That's our tagline to our department. So when I talked about utilize and optimize, we look for every place that we can do that. So if you look at everywhere that you can embed language-rich practices into Tier 1 instruction, then that is your framework. And so we have different levels that we're doing that. And then I have strategically placed teacher leaders in roles that we can make that largest impact.
And what's great about that is if we really do focus in on Tier 1 instruction and we're really intentional about those language-rich strategies, the great news is a byproduct of that is it's going to help all of your kids, not just your multilingual learners. So it's just something that I've seen really work well for other students who struggle with academic language who aren't multilingual learners. So I love that you guys have been working hard to master that and seeing such positive outcomes in your district.
Yeah, it's been very successful. We've had great response. And again, notice I didn't say our line was embed language rich strategies into tier one instruction for multilingual learners. We don't have that. We don't say that. We just say, I mean, we're here for all students.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my job is director for English language development, but I work for a district. I'm here for every single student. So even though that might be my focus, I'm still here for every student. So everything I do, I'm thinking about all students, and that helps all students.
Yep. That's awesome. So building district-wide capacity is also a key theme of your presentation. What steps would you recommend districts take to ensure that these efforts are sustainable and lead to long-term improvement for multilingual learners? So when you talk to leaders, what are some of those key pieces of advice you're giving them?
Well, I feel very fortunate. I have key leaders in my district who support me. And that's key.
Yeah.
My executive director is a huge supporter. And so having key leaders in key places, that's huge. If I didn't have the executive leadership who are above me supporting what I'm doing, it wouldn't have the success that it has. So, but again, I found something that aligns with what we're doing. I'm doing something that aligns with our district strategic plan. So again, going back to that utilize and optimize, I'm already doing what they're asking us to do. I'm already doing and supplementing and reinforcing what they have designed. So that's where you get that support.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the power in that is. And the other thing I would say is you don't change. We have our framework, and and we're not changing. It's not like, oh, this year they're doing languages practices and wonder what they're going to do next year. I mean, we started this over 3 years ago and we're not letting go. It's the same strategies, it's the same message, it's the same training. And we're not going to change because we know it works. And I think that is one thing that unfortunately happens a lot. And teachers, I mean, I've been there, right? It's like, oh, what's going to be the flavor of the month this year? And
Yeah.
so I think just showing teachers and educators that you're serious about this and you're going to support this all the way through. And this isn't going to be something that we're going to train you on this year, but next year we may not be using this, has been something that's helped make it sustainable as well.
Yeah, I mean, initiative fatigue is a real thing, and it is
Yeah,
something where I think unfortunately we have conditioned our educators and our district and school leaders to just really think that this too shall pass. And because we have brought in sort of year after year something new, something, that's changing what we think is the way we're going to do business for students, we do kind of condition our staff to think that if they just hold out implementation,
right.
it's going to pass and they can just keep doing what they've been doing, right? Shut their door and just keep doing what they've been doing. So I think it's great that you're sending the message and really, sort of walking the walk and talking the talk about going all in on this, because I think that is a
Right.
key piece of, like you say, capacity building, where people do start taking ownership and they realize that it's not going to be just one more thing and it's not going to just go away, and that there's going to be all the resources and support behind it to help them with that implementation piece.
Right. I think all of us in the field have experienced this, right?
Yeah.
That sometimes people think it can't be that easy. Like we know it works. We
Hmm.
know what works for students. And then it's almost like people want to hear something else. Like, no, it can't be just that. Like tell me something different. No, nope, that's really what you need to do. That's
Yeah.
really what we need to be doing. So it's kind of interesting to watch. But nope, that's what we're going to keep telling you, and that's what works. And we'll come in and we'll show you, and we'll keep doing it. And then once you have teachers implementing it, and you show the studies about how the oral proficiency and the structured conversations and everything in the classroom, and then we hear a lot about how it's helped behavior. So it's just, it's had so many benefits in
Yeah.
this district.
Yeah, and sometimes just having those data elements, and having some early data instead of having to wait for the student achievement to shift, to show that this is successful, having those earlier formative or some of those, more interim measures to show the success of the implementation, so that, because it is hard to implement something and then not see anything in the data change for 3 to 4 years afterwards. So I'm glad you're seeing those other elements that you can sort of point to that are being impacted by the change and the implementation piece.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, people want immediate
Yeah, they
data
do.
results, and it takes some time.
It does. It really does. It takes time for what teachers and leaders are learning about to be implemented with fidelity, and then to see that trickling into student outcomes. So, right, but I think we have gotten sort of conditioned for immediate gratification in our society. So teachers are no different. But as we continue to think about the evolving needs of multilingual learners, what do you see as the next frontier in terms of professional development and systemic change to support our ML students?
Next frontier.
Like, where are we heading?
Gosh, well, I think we need to cover the first frontier first. First things first.
Yeah.
That is, may I have some time to think about that?
You know what? Absolutely. So when we're at the conference, you and I can connect and we'll talk about the next frontier. How's that sound?
Yeah,
Awesome.
sounds great.
Well,
I can't
any
wait to see you there.
I know, I'm excited to see you in person. Any last parting words for the audience, and just anything else you'd like to leave our listeners and viewers
Oh,
with?
I cannot wait to see everybody there. This is is my favorite time of the year. It's a great conference. We all get to talk and exchange ideas, and I think it's going to be very timely for all of us this year. So I'm really looking forward to it. I'm always so excited for the NALPA conference to come, and I go through like a mini depression when it's over.
Oh, well, thank you so much, Dr. Clinkenbeard, for sharing your insights with us today. I'm excited to hear more about your work at the conference. And to everyone watching or listening, stay tuned for more conversations with amazing educators at NYLPA. We hope today's episode left you inspired and equipped to make a difference for multilingual learners in your community. Don't forget to subscribe, share this podcast with your network, and leave a review to help us reach even more advocates like yourself. Join us next time as we continue to celebrate and elevate the voices of multilingual learners and those who champion their success. Until then, keep raising your voice for MLs.